retro blood.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood as we start off a brand new month. Here in the month of November 2024, we're going to be talking all about feeding. We're going to be talking all about festivities of gathering your family around to munch on the highest course of your most favorite meal of all, the human flesh. Because the Retro Blood is doing What's for Dinner this month as we celebrate all month long the feeding and the gathering of family as we burn human flesh, chop human flesh, and rip off human flesh and have it for dinner because the Retro Blood is doing 1980s cannibal movies. J.H. Allison, James Klein. What's happening, Allison? How do you feel about this cannibal month here?
Oh, man.
Retro Blood?
I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I've wanted to do these movies for a bit. I'm super excited about the cannibals.
Exactly.
Yeah, so what's for dinner month?
Spoiler. What's for dinner, brother?
Spoiler, it's people.
It's people, man. Because the first round of your course meal, if you all like dumb white people who go to the jungle to try to write books, if y'all like some like crazy dude who like rips people off and is a bad guy and he chops out people's dicks and he gets his dick chopped off, and if y'all like some random blonde hair girl who basically does nothing the whole movie and finds out that her ex-lover got his, not only did he get his dick chopped off, but he got his head chopped off, then this will be the film for you because we're talking all about Cannibal Ferox.
Yeah, that's a lot of spoilers for this. But yeah, hopefully people have watched the movie before they listen to this.
First of all, that's not my problem. If they watched the movie, all right,
that's true. It's not my fault you haven't seen this movie. It's
what am I
classic.
How do I unspoiler this movie? All right. Yes. Well, supposedly, a couple dumb white people go to the jungle and they get eaten. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the non-spoiler one?
I guess that's allegedly. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think that I think that people should have seen this movie. I mean, it came out in 1981 or 1981. So if you haven't seen it by now, it's not your fault.
Well, first of all, okay, so this whole month is going to be very interesting.
Yes.
Because the only, like, cannibal style movie I seen is the one we're going to be doing at the end of this month, Cannibal Holocaust. Yeah. But I also saw the newer one that I believe was directed by Eli Roth, The Green Inferno.
Yeah, yeah. So you can tell watching Green Inferno that he watched this movie and just made a movie just like it.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember doing it on my old podcast. We did like a comparison review. We did Cannibal Holocaust and The Green Inferno. So, these movies are always really interesting because it's always it's always white people, of course. And they're going to go out there into the scary tribal native lands of the jungle. And they're either going to prove that cannibal doesn't exist or they're trying to get out some drugs.
Yeah, or both.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, pretty much everything in this this month, you can just file under fuck around and find out.
Yeah, pretty much.
if all these people had just left these, these like native tribes alone, they'd all still be alive. But they all go and they're like fucking around with shit they shouldn't be involved in, and that's kind of the moral of all four of these movies for the most part.
Yes, and so the schedule is going to be: we got this one going first, which should be fun. And then what else do we have, Allison, for the rest of the month?
Well, I'm not sure about the order, but we're also going to do Eaten Alive, which was directed by Umberto Lenzi, which is the same guy that directed Cannibal Ferox. And we are also doing Cannibal Apocalypse, which is also known as Cannibals in the Streets. Yeah, and we are doing Cannibal Holocaust.
Yes.
The classic.
And the reason we're doing the Cannibal Holocaust last is because I'm pretty sure this is the movie that made this particular genre like popular. Like it's like the the major one.
It's the most famous cannibal movie. Yes.
Yes.
And I guess it would also potentially be the most notorious one.
Yes. For the story.
Although I would argue that Cannibal Ferox is more disturbing potentially than Cannibal Holocaust. Although I haven't seen either movie. Well, I've watched Cannibal Ferox now again, but I hadn't seen either movie in quite a while.
Yeah.
They're not movies that I would just put on just any afternoon and watch. For sure. I mean, these movies are not for everybody.
Would you watch this around the Thanksgiving dinner table?
Yeah, as we're eating dinner, we'll just watch Cannibal Ferox.
You know what I mean? You got some liver on your menu. You know what I mean? You got some brains, and you got that good old American cock on there, brother. All right.
Yeah. These movies are not for everybody, and these 4 episodes are probably not going to be for everybody either. But yeah. But these movies are really interesting. We're all gonna be hungry. Like this movie a lot. Oh yeah, it's gonna make you hungry.
It's gonna be great. So yeah, it should be interesting. Going to the jungle. We're gonna be in the jungle all this month, so it's gonna be very, very interesting. But actually, the only one, like I said before, the only one I kind of really seen is Green Inferno and Cannibal Holocaust. So it should be pretty interesting exploring the difference, how these different movies portray cannibalism with these tribal native culture scene. So it should be pretty interesting. I did like this movie where we would get a scene and then we just go right back to New York.
That was a little bit jarring and confusing for me, especially near the end when we get like really into the cannibal mutilation parts.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it just goes back to New York all of a sudden and the Salvation Army band's playing. I'm like,
exactly. And then there's this nice music in the background. I was like, oh yeah, we just saw this cock being chopped off. Now let's play some nice little music in this nice New York background where people are taking photos.
Right.
Nice. I like it.
It's so weird. Yeah.
So, but everybody, like every month here on the Retro Blood and every week, let's get into our popular history segment. And by the way, the beer segment will return, but that will probably return in the month of December.
Oh, yeah.
When we do Christmas beer stout month, which is going to be fantastic. We might slide one here or there for this month too, but we'll see.
We'll see.
But so this one was released April 24th, 1981. Now listen, just think about that. April 21st, 1981. You're like, you know what? What's showing right now at my local peep show bar? Oh yeah, Cannibal Ferox. Oh, that's fun. Let's go in there. Holy shit! What the hell?
Holy shit!
So, what do you think this? Yeah, what kind of back alley do you think this is played in at first?
Oh, this was definitely played in. It was played, obviously in the 42nd Street, movie theaters, but it was played probably in drive-ins, and it was played in theaters that could not get whatever the first run movie was for the time.
Well, I'm thinking too is because the Cannibal Holocaust, I believe that was released a year earlier, 1980.
Yeah.
Okay, and like you were saying, that movie did get a lot of press, which we'll talk about when we get to that review. So I could see this one doing okay because it's probably trying to go off the success that Cannibal Holocaust movie had, where it's one of those movies where the marketing basically is this is too fucked up to see, so you have to see it.
Yeah. If this information is correct, there wasn't a lot of movies out in April of 1981. On April 10th, you had Nighthawks and Going Ape.
Okay.
Then you had Secondhand Hearts which was released on the same day as this movie was. Friday the 13th Part 2 would come out a week later though.
Ooh.
So maybe we wanted to see a horror movie, but we couldn't wait. We had to wait another week for Friday the 13th Part 2. So we were going to say, we'll just go see Cannibal Ferox instead.
I mean, let's be honest. If we were rocking and shoot life in the 80s, we would definitely watch this movie. Because we would already known about the crazy Cannibal Holocaust one, so we would want to see how this movie is a little bit from Italian, right?
It is an Italian movie. Yeah. All of these movies are Italian, actually.
Oh, interesting. Speaking of, well, there's not really that many Italians in this,
Italians.
but in the pro wrestling, if we are around St. Louis, Missouri, at the
Oh, wow.
Kiel Auditorium,
Ooh,
of an
yes, classic
attendance,
heel.
we would have been part of the attendance of 8,465 to see a main event of the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Harley Race wrestle Ric Flair to a draw.
Ooh, was it an hour-long draw?
Probably, yeah. Well, it was a draw after splitting one fall each, so it was a 2 out of 3 falls match.
Okay.
So,
And then, yeah. So how did they draw? Did they get a disqualification at the end?
yeah, it doesn't really tell me, but
Okay.
and I don't believe I couldn't find this show on the platforms we have, but that happened on this day, and it looked pretty good. This show is actually pretty good because we have a match between Buzz Taylor. He wrestled Terry Taylor to a 20-minute time limit. We had J.J. Dillon wrestled Spike Hubbard to a double count. Nobody can get pinned on this show, apparently. To a double count out. We had the Von Erichs on this show. David Von Erich and Kerry Von Erich. They actually defeated somebody. The Kelly twins.
Okay.
Right? Then we had Big John Studd defeated Pat O'Connor.
Okay.
Dick
That'd be
Murdoch
awesome.
and Buddy Rogers defeated Dick the Bruiser and Bulldog Bob Brown. So, not a pretty good show over here.
That would have been a really good show.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd see Big John Studd before he was in the WWF.
Yes.
And then you'd see Flair and Harley Race, which I guess this was starting to lead up to the Flair for the Gold, I'm guessing.
Yeah, you saw you saw the young Von Erichs.
Young Von Erichs, yeah.
Especially David Von Erich.
Yeah.
Pat O'Connor. You got the Bruiser on there. You got a lot of good stars around this time. This would have been a pretty big and fun show. No wonder they almost had like about 9,000 people in there. So pretty good.
Yeah, the Kiel Auditorium is a classic venue for music and for wrestling, and it's one of those places that's on my list to visit at some point, and maybe I will.
Yeah. So definitely a fun little show. Do you think who out of this list do you think were like, you know what, after the show, that Cannibal Ferox movie's playing?
I can definitely see Harley Race going to see Cannibal Ferox.
Maybe
Sitting
the
in the
Bruiser.
back row, smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
Him and Dick Murdoch going to watch the Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah. You're like, you know what? That fucking Mike guy. He had it coming to him. Huh. Was Mike? I guess Mike would have been the heel, right? In the movie.
I would say so, yes, because he's the guy that caused this whole thing to happen.
Yeah. So fun little show. Like I said, I couldn't really find it on the Peacock or the YouTube, but anytime you get a good card like that, I mean, definitely a pretty fun one out there, I would say. Pretty wild matches. And when we talked about Flair and Harley Race a bunch of times on the show.
We have.
Anytime you get them out there, you're gonna have some good classical wrestling. But I like this show too because it kind of like showed you like a mixture of a bunch of big stars, kind of like before they were like assigned to their territories in a way. Because when you think about Ric Flair and Harley Race, you think about Crockett wrestling. When you think about Big John Studd, you think about WWE, and then when you think of the Von Erichs, you think about World Class, WCCW. So it's kind of cool to see them all on one big show, kind of like before they merged into their main territories in the 80s.
Right, I agree. Yeah, that would have been cool. That would have been a really cool show to see.
So, what do you got for us on the music there, Allison? What are we rocking out to when we're seeing some brains being cut off? We're seeing some tribalistic torture. What are we listening to?
So we usually talk about, like the show's about horror movies, heavy metal, and professional wrestling. But I wanted to bring up something that was a little bit different. On April 17th, so a few days before this movie came out, The Cure released their third album, Faith. And I don't know if you've ever heard this particular album, but The Cure to me is like one of those bands where if you really listen to The Cure, I feel like that they're just as heavy as any doom metal band that exists.
Yeah.
Like they don't use a lot of distortion, but their music is just so heavy and just so like intense and just so ethereal. and like you could take like any song on Faith, Faith or Afterwards, I would say, and then you could like redo it as like a doom metal song. But Faith is the first time the Cure got into that sound. Like, but the first two albums they did, especially the first one, was more like post-punk is what I would call it. Like, it's kind of poppy, like kind of upbeat music. Like Boys Don't Cry was on their first album, and Killing an Arab and all those songs that are kind of almost dancey type songs. And there's some songs like that. Most of the songs on their second album were like that too. But then you could tell a part of that second album, they started kind of going into this more like ethereal, like heavy, slower feel. And they really embraced that on Faith. Faith is just is an incredible album. It's so beautiful. I mean, it starts off with the Holy Hour. It doesn't have a lot of songs that you would consider hits, except maybe Primary. Primary is a song that they still play. But it has All Cats Are Gray. It's got the Funeral Party. And then the final song, Faith, is just beautiful. Like this album is so good. Are you, I mean, I'm assuming you've heard The Cure, but like how familiar are you with The Cure and like what's your history with them?
I'm like semi, familiar with them. Like I know who they are, and I know I've heard songs with them, and I know I kind of like certain songs with them, but I couldn't point out like them like right away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're like one of those bands that like, to me, their hits are their worst songs.
Yeah.
Like the songs that like I guess their biggest hit ever was that song Friday I'm in Love, which is like really odd because it's like the exact opposite of anything that the Cure would ever do. Like really, I mean, it's like it went back to their like really like poppy type roots, I guess, for that song, like they started out as. But everything else on that song, on that whole album that's on, is like just so like long and drawn out and doomy and ethereal and heavy, and then you have this one like pop song right in the middle of it, which is weird. But
gotta get that radio play.
Exactly, gotta get that radio play, brother. But yeah, Faith is so good, and like the thing about Faith is like that was like right after they got Simon Gallup in the band, and Simon Gallup's one of my favorite bass players of all time. I just love the way he plays. But they were still a trio. They didn't have a keyboard player. So it's weird to think of the Cure as only having 3 members because like currently they have 2 keyboard players.
Yeah.
But they, when they do those live shows, like they were on tour at this time, and there's like a show from June that's on YouTube that you can watch, but like Simon plays keyboards and Robert Smith plays keyboards, and then they switch back and forth between keyboards and guitar and bass. But, so they were starting to get into this like heavy, like really keyboard heavy, doomy sound that they got, but they didn't have the manpower to do it. So it's kind of like this in between stage for them. But yeah, I really like this album, Faith. I think people who like the Cure and haven't listened to early Cure should go back and listen to this because it's as good as, Head on the Door and any of the other albums that people listen to. But yeah, so the Cure, Faith. Listen to it.
Do you think if when Gloria and Pat were in the tribal's hole and they were singing a song, you think they should have sang the Cure and the tribal guys would be like, oh yeah, we know that, instead
of the song that they sang? Yeah, they should have sang The Funeral Party because that was going to be most appropriate for them.
Yes, exactly. But everybody, we'll play some Cure here at the end. Like I said, actually, The Cure is one of those bands where, like I said, I know about, but I haven't listened to them too much. But maybe I'll listen to their tracks on here, and we'll rock them out.
We will
over here. But everybody, let's move on to who booked this shit.
Yes,
because there actually is a couple interesting facts about this movie that I wanted to talk about, and I'm pretty interested in. So this movie was directed by, and I'll probably fuck this up for long-time listeners, Umberto Lenzi. I
mean, that's pretty good. I would say it's Umberto Lenzi is how I'd pronounce it. That's probably also incorrect. But,
yes.
But yeah, you were pretty close, I think.
So I guess he's from the Italy.
He's from Italy, yes.
So this movie also had a couple of different titles, and check these ones out. So obviously we know it has Cannibal Ferox, okay?
Yeah.
but is also known as Make Them Die Slowly, which is definitely a death metal band or a death metal song. That's for sure. Like, that is 100% guaranteed it's one of those.
So when I saw this movie for the first time, so this is one of those movies, I've told this story a million times, but I think it bears repeating, that I was raised with the VCR, and, every night I would go, my mom or dad would take me to the video store and I would rent a videotape. And back then they didn't like card you for rated R movies or anything like that. So I could rent anything I wanted. The big releases were always checked out. So I ended up watching these cheap horror movies that they had. So I was watching all these like Italian horror films that they were getting in because that's what they got and it wasn't checked out. So they had Make Them Die Slowly, which was the edited version of this movie. And that's the first time I saw it. I was probably 12 years old. Now, with that being said, it was 10 minutes shorter than the version we saw. So there was a lot of stuff cut out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like the up close scene of the guy getting his dick cut off wasn't in it, and I think they cut out almost all of the animal death.
Oh, okay.
Which is all real, also, by the way. And we're gonna have to deal with that a lot this month. There's a lot of real animal death. Yeah. And there's so like when they're like killing a crocodile in this movie, they're actually killing a crocodile.
Yeah.
It's all real.
With like the snake and the fucking monkeys. Oh,
yeah, and the snake and the muskrat, I think is what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was all real. But yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be a little tough this month, but it is what it is. And then it's also known as Woman from Deep River.
Yes. So
in Australia.
Do you know why?
Because they don't want to make all these names. I don't know. I have no idea why.
So the first cannibal movie, or the first thought of the first movie that's considered a true Italian cannibal movie, was a man called Man from Deep River. And then when they released this movie in Australia, they called it Woman from Deep River, I guess, to capitalize on the name, I guess.
The crazy.
I think Make Them Die Slowly is the best name for this movie.
That has to be a band.
Surely it is, right?
Because
I know it was the name of a White Zombie album. It was the name of a White Zombie album. They released an album called Make Them Die Slowly.
Gotcha.
But yeah, yes, but that'd be a great band name, Make Them Die Slowly.
So first of all, this Umberto guy, he not only directed it, but he also wrote it too. So he did a little bit of both. And apparently the U.S. distribution claimed it was the most violent film ever made.
Which, maybe.
I mean, it's pretty violent.
It's pretty violent. I mean, we'd already seen Cannibal Holocaust at this point, but this movie might actually be more violent than Cannibal Holocaust in a lot of ways.
Yeah, especially when it comes to the, chopping off the, for its time, it probably is very violent. And very disturbing for the time.
It's violent now. Like, you couldn't make a movie like this now. Like, I mean, Terrifier is the closest thing, I guess, right?
Yeah. Or just pure, kind of. Terrifier is just it's like pure gore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In Terrifier, they do a lot of fucked up, kills. But, I mean, it's different where you're having some clown creature kill everybody compared to, like, these realistic tribal guys, like, tribal killing you. It's a little different. It's just different.
It is, right. It is a little different. Like, Terrifier definitely lets you know that it's not reality. Like, you can, like, it definitely lets you know it's not reality. But this, like, is real in a different way.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, my point being is that you couldn't make this movie today. Like, if you made a movie like this today, people would lose their fucking minds.
Yeah.
And like Terrifier even had to be
unrated. They kind of have. I mean, we had the Green Inferno.
Green Inferno is nowhere close to this.
And then we had that Midsummer movie.
Midsummer, I guess I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
It's not like Midsummer cutting people's dicks off. But they still have some of that on there.
Yeah, but like Green Inferno is nowhere close to this. So people watching that saw Green Inferno and then watched this are in for a fucking shock. I mean, it is nowhere close to this.
Yeah.
But you can tell that it is definitely scenes from Green Inferno were definitely taken from this movie. But yeah, Umberto Lenzi, he directed a lot of Italian movies, and and he also wrote this one, as you were saying.
So apparently it also claimed that it was banned in 31 countries.
Yep, that's what my VHS box said. I rented it, banned in 31 countries.
But it was like it wasn't, it wasn't for real. It was
well,
like
so it's debatable whether that's real or not.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they ever counted up how many, but it was banned or edited in most countries that it was released in.
Yeah, so it was tampered with in most
Yeah, it was
countries.
definitely tampered with. It wasn't released in the United States, in the UK until like 2003 or something. Germany released it uncut, of course. And I believe it was edited in like Japan. But yeah, so it is dubious as to whether it was banned in 31 countries, but it was banned in a lot of countries though. For sure.
Yeah. So a couple little trivia notes that we found on here. So like we were saying before, like Cannibal Holocaust that was made in 1980, this movie does contain several actual animal killings.
Yes.
All right? Though his character kills an animal in the film, Giovanni Lamberto strongly objected to the animals killing and refused to participate in them.
Yeah.
They had a double had to be used. And director Umberto tried to convince Radis to do the killings by telling him Robert De Niro would do it. That's random. Robert De Niro would do it, brother.
Because he's a real actor, right?
It's a real one. To which Radis responded, De Niro would kick your ass all the way back to Rome. That's what they said.
Yes. That's great.
So let's see. So they had let's see what this is here. They had a couple errors in the film, but
Giovanni Radici, the guy that played Mike Logan that you were just talking about, I think in the movie he's credited as John Morgan.
Yeah.
But he's in a bunch of movies. He's in another movie that we're going to do this month. He was also in The Church. He's been on the Retro Blood several times.
Yeah, man. He just shows up, does his thing.
Yep.
So
City of the Living Dead. He was also in that as well.
So one of the characters' named is Gloria. All right?
Yes.
She's on there. And we have Gina Rollins in Gloria is showing at the Embassy Times Square Cinema during the Junkies walk through New York during the opening credits. Mm-hmm. So there was like, it just so happened that there was a movie playing that was called Gloria. Well, we had a Gloria in this film.
Yeah.
So, and then of course there's a couple alternate versions of this film, like we were saying. Mm-hmm. Apparently, after spending many years as a banned video nasty, the film was finally submitted to the BBFC in November 2000 in a heavily pre-cut form, removing around 6 minutes of graphic violence. All right. These included a couple removal of cannibalism scenes, a man's eye being gouged out, a scene where Pat threatens a topless native with a knife, all shots of Mike being castrated, scalped and his hand severed, and the infant scene where Pat is hosted with the iron hooks through her breast. So all the cool scenes basically were removed.
So they cut out the scene where he threatens the native with the knife, but he'll leave the scene in where they shoot her.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just clarifying that.
Yeah. Come on, brother.
Actual death is okay.
Yeah.
But
actual death.
You can't threaten her with a knife.
Exactly. All the and also too, all the animal cruelty was removed.
Of course. Yeah.
And yeah, so basically, what the hell is this movie then? I'm just be honest with you. It's
probably like 15 minutes long.
Exactly. To be honest with you, that's like all the fucked up parts were all removed.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, they cut out all the fucked up parts. But basically, and I'm pretty sure that the 10-minute shorter version that I saw had the close-ups cut out, and it had all of the animal cruelty parts cut out. Like all the parts where they're killing animals were cut out. And honestly, you don't really need any of that shit in the movie. A lot of it just seems like it's padding. Like the part where the snake kills the muskrat. The only reason that's in the movie is because they give him the muskrat as a way to know if the snakes are coming or whatever. And then it kills the muskrat first, and that's how you get away or whatever.
Well, and also too, with all the animal killing and stuff, it just makes you show that the jungle is a bad, dangerous place and shit.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. A couple of things let's see what we got in here. They had like 3 different languages in this film, which is crazy. We had Spanish, which there was a lot of, and no subtitles. All right. And we have English and Italian, all in the same film.
I thought that was kind of interesting, that it was kind of cool that they didn't add subtitles, because the characters don't understand it and you don't either. And it kind of puts you in the same place the characters are in. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Very interesting. So let's see. So apparently, Terry Levins, A Curious Releasing, opened the film in New York in September of 1983. So that's when it came to. It was released April 24th, 1981 in Italy.
In Italy, yeah.
But it came out here September of 1983 in New York City under the title, like we said, Make Them Die Slowly. All right?
Yeah.
So apparently, Levin's assistant, Ron Harvey, explained to Fangoria magazine that the box office success of Mondo documentary Savage Beast had inspired the company to seek out a similar property, but one aligned to a fictional narrative. So apparently there was like this real life documentary called Mando, and that's what they were going for.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up and forgot. So yeah, the history of cannibal movies, because a lot of people wonder why these movies exist. Like, why would you even make these?
Yeah.
But they started off, in Italy, so most cannibal movies are Italian. For some reason, there was this weird Italian cannibal boom, from like 72 to like 86 or something. There's quite a few of them. But in the 60s and very early 70s, there were these, what they called Mondo movies. Mondo means a world in Italian. It was like a world movie. And the first one that I can think of, or the one that I've seen, is Mondo Cane, which means a dog's world. And basically it's a documentary about fucked up shit. The one most people would probably have thought of or seen as Faces of Death.
Yeah.
Although that's an American movie. Faces of Death is considered a Mondo movie because it's like, it's a documentary that supposedly shows like real death. Although most of Faces of Death and most of these Mondo movies were fake. Like most of the scenes in it were fake. They were dramatized. But these Mondo movies became popular in Italy, and some of them featured cannibalism, because that's like, a dark, terrifying thing that would scare anybody. And, they featured cannibalism. So the Italians decided to make these fictional cannibalism movies. And that's where Cannibal Man from Deep River came from. And then they made all these other cannibal movies since then.
Yeah. Very wild. And apparently, like, when they were getting it released here in America, in New York, they played it at the Liberty Theater on 42nd Street.
Of course.
And apparently, there was this they were just going hard, like, showing, like, big banners and announcing the film. And they were so happy to do it. And then Harvey, the assistant, said, like, the film was hugely successful at the venues that it would play in, but most of them shunned the film. So he said they at the time they got approximately, there was about like only like 100 theaters nationwide that were playing it, but all 100 theaters did a pretty, they were getting a lot of the crowd out there. And it's very interesting too, because like this movie is, very similar marketing strategy to maybe like the first Terrifier, where it's like one of those ones where you like tell a friend, tell a buddy, hey, this movie's fucked up, let's go watch it. You know what I mean? So, and I'm pretty sure it's like one of those things where like the younger generation were watching it for all like the fucked up scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that most people that went to those 42nd Street movies were going just to see what fucked up shit they could see.
Yes.
Which is what we would be doing as well.
Yeah, buddy. Checking it all out. But, everybody, I say let's get into our first round of our Thanksgiving feast. Let's get into the Cannibal Ferox.
Yeah.
The following feature is one of the most violent films ever made. There are at least 24 scenes of barbaric torture and sadistic cruelty graphically shown. If the presentation of disgusting and repulsive subject matter upsets you, please do not view this film.
All right. So we start off the film by showing New York City.
Oh, yes.
The cannibal destination of America.
Well, it's almost like the Italian destination in America.
I
Because
think
like almost every one of
no.
these Italian movies we've shown has taken place in New York City.
I can't remember. I don't think there is one that's not in New York City. I mean, if there is, like, it's very rare. But they all happen in New York City only. Okay.
You're right. It's really strange. Like none of them are in Chicago
Yeah.
or anything like that. Any Italian movie. I mean, Italians in the 70s and 80s must have thought that America was New York City.
New York. That's it. That's only. Maybe Chicago. Maybe. But they ain't, they ain't going to Alabama. Let's just say that.
No.
Okay. So we have like this druggy up looking dude. He was on that 1981 fentanyl. He was walking down the street and everything, looking at the streets. There's a bunch of street stuff going on. So he goes into this apartment looking for some smack.
Yeah.
That's what they called it back in the day, brother. Smack. All right. But then these two like smack dealers were like, they thought he was Mike. They're looking for Mike because Mike ripped them off. And then they start roughing up this dude, and they think that this guy was working with Mike. He's like, no, man, I was just trying to buy some smack from Mike. And one of the guy kept calling him shit face. Hey, shit face. Huh? What do you think? This makes me
wonder. This makes me wonder if like that's some kind of that's just what they translated it as. Like he used some Italian insult, and they're just like, we'll just call him shit face.
Yeah, let's call him shit face.
Because it doesn't translate.
So the gangsters think that this guy, this fentanyl guy, is gonna like rip him off or whatever, or tip him off. So they shoot him in the heart, and you never seen a more funny death scene. Oh.
Yeah, that was great.
So then the police arrive.
Yeah.
All right, two detective guys. One of the detectives guys like, hey man, you owe me $5 because I guess they had a bet on who was dead or whatever.
Right.
And they said like, yeah, this guy. One cop was like, hey, these are just a death between two low level pushers.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And yes, I have been watching The Penguin lately, so I know what pushers are now. All right, you've watched that show Penguin? Shit's pretty good.
I watched the first episode, but I haven't caught up with it yet.
It's really good. It's very gangster mob and shit. I like it. It's really good stuff. It's good stuff. I like it. So then they find out that there's a girl, okay, who basically owns the apartment, okay, and they find out she is also a tour guide. All right, and I believe her name was Marion. All right. And she's the one that owned the tour guide. She does the tour guide, so they're basically going to go find her. Okay. So then we cut, and this happens a lot. It's weird. Like we'll see like shots from New York City, then we go all the way to the Colombian jungle.
Yes. Well,
kind of.
They're somewhere in South America, I think.
I thought they said they were in Colombia, but then they go to like this one like hidden forest or whatever.
Oh, maybe they are in Colombia. I can't remember. I should never have interjected. But yeah, It just says. Well, everything on the version I saw was all in Italian on the screen. So it said like, does it say like Rio del Amazonia or something like that, like Amazon River, and then then you're there. Yeah. Yeah.
So they show up, and this is when we meet three of our main characters. We meet Rudy, his sister Gloria, and the eccentric one, Pat.
Pat.
All right, or Patty, whatever. So the gist of this is Rudy and Gloria, they are taking this vacation down here because Gloria is trying to write a book about cannibalism not being real. All right, that's like the gist of it.
Yes.
And Pat is just coming along because she wanted adventure, but now all she wants is a shower.
Right. And Pat was played by Zora Kurova, who was also in New York Ripper from a couple months ago in the Army.
Oh, yeah. There you go. She's back at it.
Back at it.
So basically they're trying to find shower and gas. All right. They talk to a Spanish cop. All right. And the Spanish cop says, yes, there is a shower. It's at my house.
It's at my house.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And they are looking for, and I'm going to butcher this name, the Mwaka village.
That's as good as I could be able to say. So sure.
And they eventually agree to get a tour guide to take them there. And then the girl is like, "What about that shower?" So I'm not sure if she fucked this guy or not, but maybe, because that hurts her character.
So she
Patty.
could take a shower.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was easier in 1981. If you have a shower,
Yeah.
then she'll
In the
fuck
jungle.
you for it.
Yeah.
In the jungle. Well, yeah, that's true. In the jungle. Yeah.
So they wait for Patty. She finally gets there. They all leave on the boat. Shower girl. I put shower girl thanks. Shower girl thanks the cop. All right. And the villagers, they don't think this particular village, like the exist. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now, this is when Gloria pretty much explains why we're all here, basically. All right. So we're here because she is trying to write a book about cannibalism not being real, and she's trying to prove it by going to a supposed cannibal village. All right. And she thinks it's just a myth that was created through the culture there to kind of like, basically it was created through a culture to kind of fear people from coming to the actual village itself.
Right.
So she wants to take the Cannibal Ferox and prove that this myth is not real.
Yes,
Basically.
she's trying to prove that because she says cannibalism doesn't exist and has never existed.
Yeah, she's saying it's basically kind of made up to like kind of scare people, and
Yes.
she just can't believe there would be like a whole tribe who just only eats human flesh. All right, and then there's a bird that shows up, and this Jackie Chan looking motherfucker eats it raw.
Yes,
I thought that was random.
that's
And
intense.
then they gave him a monkey.
Yes. Then they give him a monkey. Yes.
Yeah. Then they talk more in Spanish, which unfortunately my Spanish is a little rusty, kind of like my Italian. And they end up talking the law of the jungle. All right.
Yes.
So now the crew, they're riding through the jungle, and of course they get stuck. All right. So they get stuck. They eventually get the Jeep out. And the Rudy guy, he drops the alcohol. But they're like, "Oh, don't worry about it. We got tons of whiskey." So I guess they don't have vodka anymore. They just got the whiskey there.
Yeah, I guess so. So they drop their bottle of vodka or whatever, but they still have whiskey, so that's good.
Yeah, then we see, of course, Rudy kills a spider. And this is when we're seeing that there are going to be a lot of, like, deadly creatures out there in the jungle, like there is. And of course, so now Patty's all like, "Oh, I sort of went on this like different cruise, out there to more of a beach." And then Gloria makes a joke saying, "Yes, then you would have encountered the white widows."
Oh, what a funny joke.
So they go forward by a coin toss, which is never good. By the way, at this point of view, I was just like, why? I mean, like, there's no way you could have got me out here with these dumbasses. You kidding me? Oh my God. Screw your book. All right. Allison, you probably would have been out there because it's book. You're like, "Oh yeah, book. I'll do it."
Book, I'll go. I read.
Yeah, I read, brother. All right. So now they get stuck again, and the engine blows out. So now they gotta walk. All right. And then Rudy's like, "All right, we gotta walk the rest of the way, but grab the whiskey and batteries. The essentials, brother." Okay.
Yes, the whiskey. Yeah, you gotta have the whiskey and the batteries.
So I knew these guys were more idiots because, like, okay, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk around and maybe we'll hitch a ride from one of the locals. I'm like, I don't think that's gonna work out that well.
Mm-mm.
And then they walk by a bunch of natives. They're all dressed like in the white paint. You know what I mean? That gimmick where they put the paint on.
Yes, because that's what all natives do, right?
Yes.
They wear white paint.
And right after they see the natives eating, they're now feeling bad. They now have a bad feeling about everything.
At this point, yes, they haven't figured it out yet, but they should have figured it out when the guy gave them a monkey, and then told them that it would protect them from snakes.
Exactly, which didn't really work out, as we see this next scene, because they're all sleeping. They all wake up, And then we get a very disturbing long scene of a snake eating this monkey, which I actually thought that was one of the most disturbing parts of the film.
Yeah, I think it's a muskrat, not a monkey, but yeah.
Okay.
But either way, yes, and it goes on for like what 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's like a long time.
Like
and he's like screaming and everything. It's like, God,
Yeah.
damn, come on, man, let's fast forward.
And like they just filmed this muskrat being killed by this anaconda.
So then they're like, well, it could have been us. I was like, okay, thanks, assholes. You had a fucking machete, didn't you?
Yeah, it could have killed. I mean, the anaconda is slow, right? You could just kill it. I mean, it was huge. I mean,
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, you could have just killed it.
Yeah. Had some meat left over. Come on now.
Exactly. We could have ate the anaconda.
So Pat is tired. What's new? They see dead natives. All right. And then now the Pat girl is freaking out a little bit. And then I like Ruby just slaps her ass. I was like, all right, we're going there.
Because, like, why do we ever establish why Pat is there?
Yeah, yes, because she wanted to tag along and hang out. And they thought, and they did say, like, they do say later on, like, oh, we thought she was cool, but you know, maybe not.
Well, right, but I mean, but that is the whole reason she's there, is because she just wanted to go with them to the Amazon and look for cannibals.
Yeah, they're all friends, all right? And she just wanted to hang out.
Sure.
I don't really know what the reason with her was. I think the mostly reason was because she wanted to tag along and she thought it'd be more like a paradise thing.
Okay, I guess you're right, because she does kind of imply that she kind of thought it would be more beach-like than it is.
Yeah.
But it just seems weird when you're like, hey, do you want to go to the Amazon and look for cannibals with us? Like, sure, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So now they have these two dudes show up. All right.
Yeah.
They're asking for help. Looks like they've been attacked. All right. And they said like they were, attacked 2 miles up the river. And then they introduced themselves. We have Mike Logan.
Yeah.
Okay, which is the asshole guy we've been hearing about from New York.
Yeah.
All right. And then we have Joe, and they're both from New York.
Which is strange, right? Because these other people that are also from New York just happen to run into these people. The other characters.
Well, all Americans are from New York. You didn't know that?
Oh, I forgot. In Italian movies, all Americans are from New York.
Yes. So and then this is just out of nowhere. They're like, okay, you want some whiskey? No, here I got cocaine on me.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna do this coke instead. Oh, okay.
I love this. This movie is like, just like, let's just do a bunch of coke and make a movie about cannibals.
So this guy is doing some cocaine in the Colombian jungle, and to be honest with you, I mean, that's the perfect place to do it, apparently.
That is a perfect place, and he carries it in a pouch around his neck.
Yeah. They asked why he came down here because he was, this makes sense too. He was actually looking to get some of that snow.
That's cocaine. Yes.
All right. And so now they're telling the story of why they're here, basically. So basically, they came to the Colombian village, and they met some guy from what was it? I don't know. It wasn't Peru, but it was a guy from like one of those countries, Peru or something. And he was gonna go show them around to where to go find the cocaine, but then they got trapped by this cannibal corpse, cannibal groups. Yeah, but they got trapped by cannibal corpse. All right. And they got tied up and they burnt and they ate the fucking the tour guide, but they escaped barely. All right, and they were like tied up in bamboo.
The story
cages
they're telling them, right?
Yes. That's the story Mike is telling everybody.
Yeah. And the Portuguese guy, the
Portuguese, that's what it was.
The Portuguese, the Portuguese guy was killed by the cannibals, supposedly.
Yeah, and they said like the Portuguese guys they killed him and they ate his dick.
Yeah.
All right. So now, they're now trying to go and find somewhere. They're trying to go find a different river part to get out of here now.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, Gloria, she is now thinking about the whole story that we just heard from Mike and all them by the fire, and she's all like, "Oh, maybe cannibalism is real.
Maybe, maybe.
mean, golly,
maybe I really fucked this up."
So Gloria's thinking about the story around the fire, and now Pat wants to fuck Mike because she told him to lay down his 6-shooter. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. I bet it's been, you got to stop using your 6-shooter and use your 1-shooter, I guess.
The 1-shooter, yeah.
So now it's the next morning. Gloria has gone missing. Ruby and Joe split up to find her, and Mike and Pat split up to go look for her. All right. They see there's like random tigers and monkeys around. Rudy and Joe find the village. Joe warns them, like, don't go in there. Like, don't go to that village. But he doesn't listen. He goes to the village anyway. And he sees that dead body that's all burnt up. And he thinks it's that guy from the story.
Right.
Well,
yeah, because he lets them think it is, right? So when they see the guy that's tied to the post or whatever, he's like, "Is that the Portuguese guy?"
Yeah.
Or he's like, "Is it Portuguese?" Like, yeah.
Is that And then all the tribe people look at him all weird. So now Gloria, we find her. She fell in a hole with the pig. All right.
Yes. So this is the only part about this movie I didn't pick it like. So we're supposed to believe that this small pig is threatening her in some way. Right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he got a hold of her shoe or something.
I don't think so. I mean, it's just a little pig. He's not even an adult pig. It's just like a little baby pig. It's cute.
Well, Mike comes down here, and his character is an asshole, so he kills the pig. And he kills
the pig, yeah.
And Gloria looks disgusted at it, but Pat gets turned on.
Yeah, Pat's a weird character. So she gets turned on by the cocaine and the animal violence.
Yeah. You know what? Everybody has their, their fetishes. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So basically, Gloria's like, why? They ask her, like, what the hell are you doing, Gloria? She's like, well, I was trying to look for the river, but I fell. I was like, okay.
But I fell in this big hole with a pig.
Yes. So now they meet the others at the village. All right. And Rudy can't figure out, like, why all the younger tribes left, and they just left all the older ones here. And then all the left, where's all the younger ones, and why are all the older ones just here? And he also says, like, it's kind of weird, too, because they all seem, like, really scared of us white people skin. I was like, okay.
Well, I wonder why.
Well, we'll find out. We'll find out.
We find out why.
Yeah. So now Gloria's, basically Gloria's like, okay, well, I got my, without seeing the actual cannibalism of tribals, people eat people, Gloria's like, well, I got my answer. Let's get out of here now. Because she just believes Mike. And then Joe passes out. So Joe is now burning up. I guess he has he has blood poisoning. All right. Mike just wants to leave his ass there, saying, fuck him. Let's just get out of here. All right. And then I like how he keeps calling Gloria a twat.
Constantly.
Yeah. Hey,
like
twat.
He's just made to be like the worst character in the world.
Pretty much.
And then Pat's also the worst character in the world, and then they get what's coming to them later on. So
Mike wants to leave, and he says, like, okay, well, I have 4 shots that I can use on these cannibals if I need to. All right, so they all kind of agree to stay until they can find out a plan. We see more snake fighting. Then we get
snake fighting. Well, I mean, that's a good way to describe it. Yes, we see more snake fighting for sure.
Then we get in the Colombian dangerous cannibal jungle. We have Pat and Mike naked doing cocaine.
But they're in like a shelter somehow. Like, are they in the cannibal village?
Yeah, they're in the village doing cocaine.
They're in the cannibal village, like,
I mean, what?
Fucking and doing cocaine.
Come on, Murray. What kind of story is that? You know what I mean? I'm out there in the fucking, jungle. Got me a nice little blonde over here. Got some cocaine. We're in a killer cannibal village.
It's so crazy, right? Like, if we described this movie to a person that didn't know it exists, they wouldn't believe this is the real movie.
Exactly. Hey, man, you got to do what you got to do in the jungle.
Exactly.
No rules in the jungle, man. And so, and then the conversation, bro,
is great.
This Mike guy's like, yeah, right when I saw you walk up, I knew you're a little whore.
Well, no, doesn't he say, he's like, do you know the first thing I thought about you the first time I saw you? And then she said that I was a little whore.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. And then
we both agree.
And then they started talking like, so what did you do in New York? She was like, well, she was some sort of waitress, all right, but she couldn't really find her way. And then like Mike's like, yeah, you came down to this jungle looking for me and looking for freedom.
weird.
All right. Maybe want to play one of those Freebird songs or something.
Yeah.
Freedom. So they see the natives playing with the turtles, which we find out what they're going to be doing with those soon.
That's a really, really big turtle also.
Yes. And then Mike and Pat randomly start fucking with them, which I don't have no idea why. So Mike, we find out
because Mike's an
later.
asshole.
Yeah.
He just, because that's one of the reasons. Well, that's not why he came down there. He came down to looking for the cocaine, but he came down there. Once he got there, he realized that he could like threaten and intimidate the natives. So he has been. But yeah, so he threatens this like young native girl with a knife, and then Pat gets all turned on because she sees him being an asshole because she's attracted. That kind of.
And he calls that girl a virgin.
Yeah.
And then he's fucking with the other guy, and then now basically Mike wants Pat to cut the native girl.
Yeah.
All right, but she kind of refuses. The guy tells her to run away, and then the girl tries to run away, the younger one, and then Mike shoots her. All right, and then Pat's like, what the fuck? And then Ruby comes down there. He confronts Mike, and they start fighting each other.
Right.
And then eventually Mike pulls a gun on him, but then Gloria calls and said Joe has been relapsing. So they all go there, and they're all getting along. And then now there's a blood poisoning and the sickness. And then Mike was like, well, you know what these tribal guys would do if they had blood poisoning? They would just leave him behind. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ruby calls Mike a bastard. All right. And then we cut to natives cutting a turtle's head off and eating it. So we ain't playing around.
Well, not just his head, but they cut all the
body out. Yeah.
They cut all the limbs off of it.
And then Ruby's he's like watching this whole thing. He's like, oh, that's pretty fucked up. And then now Joe wakes up and he's confused. Gloria now calls herself and Rudy two dumbasses because they decided to come down here. Oh.
Which is not far from accurate.
Yes. So now Joe, he's waking up from his blood poisoning, and now he's like, oh, okay, everybody, now that I've had this truth serum somehow in me, I'm going to tell you the true story because Mike lied about the cannibals. So he tells the whole story, right? Mm-hmm. They said they did meet the Portuguese guys after they left New York. The reason they left New York is because Mike stole a bunch of money for some pushers.
Yep.
All right. Excuse me. And they wanted to come down here to look for some was it like kind of rubies, kind of like these crystal rubies,
emeralds. That's I forgot. Yes. That's what they're looking. They came down looking for emeralds too. Yeah.
Yes. So they found a Portuguese guys or something that would, actually I don't know if it was a Portuguese guy. It was just one of the native guys or something. He said that he knew a spot that there was a bunch of emeralds and they can share the profits off of them. But since Mike was an asshole, he was just going down there to rob the guy. All right. So they said they got to the village there and they didn't find any rubies. So eventually Mike just snapped and he just started to kill the guys, to torture them to find them their stash. All right. So basically what he did was he grabbed the guy, the original host guy that was helping him out. He tied him up to the tree, and he started to torture him to tell him where all his rubies were at. But the guy didn't say anything, so he cut off his eye, and then he cut off his dick. All right? And, of course, Joe was like, yes, and all this is happening. Mike was high on cocaine the whole time.
Shocking.
And then Joe was like, try to stop him, but Mike cut him off. All right? And basically... Mike and Joe needed to leave the village before the younger ones came back, okay? Because the younger ones were out like on a mission to find like food and stuff while this is all happening. So it was only like the old people, and that's why nobody was like standing up to Mike because they're all like old and frail.
Right.
All right. So basically, Mike took that younger girl that he shot. He took her hostage. So she can show them around the jungle to try to escape But when they tried to escape, they had one guy try to attack him. But Mike, being Mike, that's what Joe said. He killed the guy, and then he said randomly Mike stabbed him, Joe, and then that's when they found the crew. So that's the whole story.
Weird.
Yeah, and then now they start talking like this Mike guy's insane, and the tribes are basically now, since Mike did all that, all these tribes are gonna link all people to, all the white people together, and they're gonna kill them all. And they can't, they don't really speak the language, so they can't be like, hey, it wasn't us. You know what I mean?
Right. Plus, I mean, these are the only, these might be the only white people these natives have ever encountered, and every one of them have tried to kill them.
Yes, exactly. So now, Ruby and Gloria find out that Mike and Pat are gone. They left and they took everything. All right. So they took like the money, all the purse and everything, and then in the most calmest tone ever, Rudy was like, "Oh, well, it's okay, spoiled milk is spoiled milk. What are you supposed to do?"
Yeah.
Not pissed off, not nothing, just so calm. Very interesting.
Yes.
So Gloria does start crying a little bit too, and now we're back in New York City, with people taking pictures. And we see that tour guide, Miriam. And the cop asks her to come with him. And they talk about her apartment. And they talk about the guy, Mike Logan, and how he was, we had these two pushers looking for him. And she was like, yeah, I met him. I met him at a bar. Okay. She said he was like, tall and slim and handsome, but he was a little too crazy for her. All right. And she says, like, I didn't know anything about some guy trying to buy some smack in my apartment. I was in Las Vegas for the last 3 weeks, and then the cop decided to let her go, but he did tell the other cop to follow her. So that's where we get that advancement on that story. Now we're back in the village. All right. Apparently Joe has now died from his poisoning. Mm-hmm. And then so Gloria and Ruby, they walk outside and they see like a rotten, I thought they said it was a pot pie, but it was like some sort of like symbol of them being cursed. That was out there. So they put a curse
I remember that. That's what, So like, that's what they think it is anyway. Yes.
Yeah. So now the native young men have arrived and they bring spears with them. And they're looking all around the village. They see Joe, they grab him out, and they start ripping him open and eating his guts, brother. And if you have a Cannibal Corpse song, you can play it to the scene.
You could.
Because it's pretty wild. Now Gloria's going and it's been like, oh, shit. She's like, damn it, my myth is false. These guys are eating up. So Gloria sees them and she's getting sick. And then they run. Yeah. They start running like fucking hard away from there.
Yeah, it turns out there really are cannibals.
So they run. Ruby thinks the river is close, okay, and they're almost to the river, but then they get caught by the tribal, and then when they get caught, the tribe clan also found Mike and Pat also. And then they put Mike on the tree, the same tree that he put the other guy on earlier. Yeah. That he cut off his eye and his dick. They put Mike on there. All right. And they put Pat, Ruby, and Gloria in a cage, a bamboo cage. And
just like in Green Inferno.
Yep, just like in the Green Inferno. Pat's asking for help. One of them holds a monkey, the tribal guys.
Yeah, that is a monkey. And that was weird. That it just shows as close up this guy.
Well, it's his pet, man. Come on now.
I guess so.
He likes to watch the murders. The monkey.
So this is the part in the movie where we realize now. Well, I guess they kind of hinted at it before, but now we realize that it instead of it wasn't a Portuguese guy, it was some Mike murdered the
one of the tribal guys.
He murdered the tribal guy.
And now
and now they're gonna fuck up Mike.
They're gonna get his revenge.
Yeah, and Pat realizes that we've really fucked up at this point.
Yeah, they all fucked up. So they tie up Mike, they whip his dick out, They chop that motherfucker off and they eat it.
And they eat it.
Eat some raw dick, brother.
It's not even enough. Like, it's not shocking enough that they cut his dick off, but then they also eat it.
Yeah.
It's like,
chop that thing down.
Yep.
What a course for Thanksgiving, that one.
Exactly.
Some Italian New York cock, brother. Come on.
Yeah.
So Pat's freaking out now. She's like, oh, fuck. And then Gloria thinks about her dumb idea and doesn't think they can get out, exit she's like, oh, shit. I fucked up.
Yeah, that part was almost humorous when she's in the cage and you can hear the voiceover of her character from earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, she's thinking about it like, cannibals don't exist.
They don't exist.
Cannibalism doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's never existed.
I didn't just see a native guy eat this dude's
another
dick.
guy's dick.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Yeah.
So then we cut to New York, brother. Happy New York. Everybody up there having a good old time. We see those two gangster smack guys from earlier. They're smacking around that girl from the apartment, asking, like, they're confronting her because they're trying to find Mike because they ripped him off. All right, so they're smacking her around, and eventually the cops come out there, and they take away the gangster guys, and the cop grabs Marion, and they bring her to the detective, and she starts confessing more about Mike. She says, like, yes, I know Mike had money and stuff. All right, so basically, she says that Mike, I mean, they're just making this Mike guy to seem like a complete asshole. Basically, the girl got pregnant from Mike. He made her get the abortion. All right, and then
I forgot about that. Yes,
he got some money from them. He had money at the time. So then she tells him, well, he went to Colombia, to the Colombia, jungle and stuff, to go get more money, to get out there and basically he did it for two reasons. He did it to escape from the New York gangster guys, and he went out there to go get some more money to pay him back.
Mm-hmm.
And then so now the cops like, okay, well, we need to go to the the Colombian authorities to get a trace on this Mike Logan guy. And then the other guy who was in that room looked like he was doing like the worst acting I've ever seen, saying, oh, a bunch of people are having me talk to Colombia today. There's also like 3 missing people from there. All right. Which is the other crew.
Right.
So now he's getting he's getting his dick wound all sealed up so they can torture him some more. Because they don't want him to bleed to death, basically.
I'm not a doctor.
Yes.
But I'm pretty sure that he would just bleed out.
Well, they have that native clay.
Yes, so they do say they're cauterizing the wound, which I think that means, I mean, like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I think cauterizing a wound means that you heat it up, right? And you heat it up and you like put the blood vessels, you seal off the blood vessels so they don't bleed.
Yeah.
Which there's no way that's what they're doing. But yes. So
well, I'm surprised that
there is no way that he did not die from this.
Well, I'm surprised that Dickless over here had so much energy after having his fucking thing cut off and ate.
That's another thing I was going to mention. So, true, I have never up to this point had my dick cut off.
Oh,
but I have.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. But because I've never been married or anything. But I have had surgery fairly recently, and I can tell you one thing, that after having something cut off or opened up, there is no way that you're going to have the kind of energy people had running around.
Yeah.
There is no way this would ever happen. But it is a movie and it is fiction. So you kind of have to have a suspension of disbelief.
So now they go by boat to some other part of the village, I guess.
Yes.
So Gloria said, yes, I dropped my chain necklace, my sunglasses, my credit card. Hopefully somebody will find it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then Ruby's like, okay, well, I think we should do this plan where I make a run for it. And then it's so funny. Then the next thing they just show all the natives finding everything and showing it to the camera.
I thought that was kind of cool or kind of funny that they find her her American Express card.
Yeah.
And it said her number was like 5250001. And it looked like it was made out of cardboard. It looked like they just made like a photocopy of an American Express card and wrote numbers on it. But yeah.
Yes, pretty much. I liked it how the natives like showed it like he's like in a like he's in a credit card commercial. Like he holds it up. Yeah,
he was just like holding it up. Like American Express should make a commercial with that. Like that.
Yeah, that'd be a great one.
Yeah, like it could just be showing scenes of the village where they all live in mud.
Yeah.
And I thought that was also really strange too. Like all these native people, even though it never rained in the entire movie, every piece of ground was muddy and they just lived in the mud constantly.
Yeah.
Like they didn't put straw down.
Yeah, but they got good credit apparently.
Apparently they have good credit and you can get an express card and use it in the Amazon with yes.
Yeah, so when you have to get your imported body parts.
Right.
Put that on credit, man. So now they come up with a plan, Rudy and Gloria does, where Gloria will trick the natives and Ruby will run off to try to get some help. So they do that plan, but Rudy fucks up his leg.
Of course.
He hides in some water, and of course that water just so happens to have piranhas.
Yes.
So
piranhas don't do that, by the way.
Well, these ones do.
These ones do.
Or bloodfish.
But yeah, and it looked like they were like inside of his leg, like they were like boring into his leg. Which
there's like one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, they just took like a real fish and like attached it to his leg somehow, which probably the fish died too. But
so he gets out, he's like screaming for help, 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 and they basically just shoot him with the needle, and there goes Ruby. He dies. Then they bring the rest of them back to the village. They put Mike in one hole. They put the other girls in the other hole. So this one I found was like a little weird too. So Pat and Pat and Gloria talk like just normal. Like, oh, we're sad. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay and stuff. And we'll make it through this. Not been like, hey, bitch, why would you try to like escape and just leave me here to the fucking cannibals? None of that.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess like once you're in the position that you're in, like, it's probably she probably realized it's better if they just team up and, they kind of made up or whatever, I guess. But yeah, it is kind of fucked up, right?
Yeah, and then Mike's
not as fucked up as shit's gonna get, but
it
does get fucked up.
So Mike asks for water and he's like, I'm gonna kill you all. Gloria calls herself a fool. I agree.
No kidding.
She said, then she goes, it was us all along, us corporate greed white Americans who caused these natives to be cannibalistic meat eaters.
Yep.
Interesting. Basically, I guess what she means is because Mike came there and started doing a bunch of fuckery, now they're like, I'm going to eat this motherfucker.
Yeah. I mean, partially that too. Yeah. Like that could have been like, like that's definitely like a theme run through all of these movies we're going to be watching. But, like Mike fucked with them. So now they're like fucking back. But also like a lot of cannibalism in the past has been caused by lack of resources. So I think she could have also been mentioning like, because like during this time, like there was like a huge like push, I guess you could say, about how like people started realizing that we're cutting down the rainforest in the Amazon, and then it gets pushing all these native people to one area, and like it's like fucking up the resources too. So I think that had a lot to do with it as well.
So then they drop down some raw meat, and Gloria's like, I don't know if we'd eat that. I think that's came from Rudy, and of course,
no, it's a heart.
Oh, it's a heart, yes.
Yeah. So there's Rudy's heart. So it is Rudy's heart. Yeah.
So Pat's freaking out, and Gloria's like, well, okay, well, let's sing so they don't break our spirits. And then we hear some Cure, and then that's about it.
They sing this random cowboy song.
Yeah. So now we have a cop, and we have the girl Miriam or something. Look, they're now in Colombia looking for Mike. Okay, and they did say that yes, I saw them all come through here, but we haven't seen them since. And there's a bunch of Spanish talk, and eventually they agreed to use a seaplane to try to go look for them. We have some of the tribes kill an alligator. Mike escapes his hole. He kills one of the native guys. So one of the native one of the native younger guys tried to, I guess, get Pat out of there, and then Mike attacks him, and then he cuts the rope and he betrays the women.
Yeah, so he can't even be a good guy in the end.
No.
Like he can't even be redeemed. Like he has to be. So he's running around with no dick, and then he like cuts the rope so that the girls are stuck in the pit.
And he, like I said, he basically got his dick chopped off probably like yesterday, and he's moving around just fine, no problem.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way, but whatever.
So he gets away. The seaplane is looking for the crew. They're gonna try the south side now because they don't see anybody. Mike sees the plane. They don't hear him, and then he gets caught by the natives. All right, and the plane keeps looking, and the natives capture him, and then they cut off his hand. All right.
Yep.
So then we see the girls are now waiting. Pat talks about a dream she just had. She says she dreamed of her dad, and she said she hasn't seen her dad since she left house at 16 from a guy named Johnny. Okay.
Yep.
So now they get the women up now. Okay. And then this is when we have the scene where they take Patty and they put a hook in her titty.
Yep. Well, both of them, but yeah.
So, and then the plane flies over and they still don't see nothing. And then the plane eventually finds the Jeep. All right. So then they land. The native guys see them land and they talk to each other. And the native guy said, yes, 5 people came through here, but they all got eaten by alligators, so nothing to see here. And then the cop's like, oh, okay, well, we figured that all out. Let's get out of here.
Time to go home.
End of story. All good. Okay. So then they basically, in my notes I put, they tribal killed Pat. All right. And now Gloria is watching all this stuff, and she's basically ready to die. So
yeah, because she's tied up. She's not naked like Pat is, but she's tied up to like this thing.
Yes.
But she's hanging from this bamboo thing they made.
Yeah. So after they kill Pat, then they grab Mike, and they put his like head on like this table, chin, like a head on this table thing.
Yeah, and then the top of his head sticking through the table.
And this is like something you would see in like Hannibal or something. Well, they put his in his torture device, and they take a blade and just chop off the top of his head, and they start eating his brains.
And then eat his brains.
Pretty wild stuff. All that shit.
Like they don't even cook any people.
No.
Like they just eat them raw.
Raw, man. I mean, that can't really be that healthy.
No, I mean surely not, right?
So now it's nighttime. We have this like younger native kid trying to get Gloria out of there, helps her escape because we find out like a lot of the not everybody in the village is like a crazy cannibal. It's only like a certain amount of like I guess it's a certain age. It's the ones with the spears are the cannibal ones. Okay?
The ones with the spears are the cannibals, and like this kid like decides that. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he decides. She's the one that's least guilty of anything that they had to deal with.
Because I believe this was the kid who saw Rudy fight Mike while he shot the girl.
Yes, You're right. I believe so. Yeah.
So he helps her escape. They find a river, no boat. All right. And then they're walking. Yeah, it's all fucked up. So they try to walk through the jungle again. And then the kid gets caught in a trap and he dies. So this is when Gloria thinks about killing herself. But then she hears this story that Rudy told her about living her life and shit.
Mm.
And after this happens, we see some random dudes. They have kidnapped a monkey that they're going to get big money for.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to get the hell out of this crazy jungle. They hear her screaming. They go to her and they see Gloria all muddied up and fucked up, asking for help. Then we cut back to New York City. It's been 3 months. And Gloria...
3 months? Yeah, wow.
It's been 3... Check this one out. It's been 3 months. Gloria has already written a book.
Yeah, and had it published.
And had it published. And got a doctor's degree in science. And then they talk about her surviving the god-awful jungle 3 months ago.
So I thought she was just... Did they say that? I thought she was just getting an award for her book.
Yeah, she got an award, but she's also been... she also got a doctor's degree as well, too. All in 3 months. Okay. Pretty impressive.
That is pretty impressive.
So her book is called Cannibalism, End of a Myth. All right, and I guess she was destroying the myth of the cannibals don't exist or something. So I couldn't tell.
No, I took that. So like you could see that two different ways.
Yeah.
I took that as cannibalism end of a myth, meaning that her book perpetuated her story that cannibals don't exist.
Yeah.
This is the end of the myth. I'm ending this myth now.
Yes.
But you could also take it as, okay, cannibals do exist, and now I'm ending the myth in that way. But I took it as her book just went ahead and told her same story about how cannibals don't exist. And that's why she had that like dead look on her face while she was like, accepting the award for it or whatever.
Yeah, because
it also had the most boring cover ever. Like they printed the cheapest thing they could print. Like,
yeah,
it was just a cover with the words "cannibalism, end of a myth" on it. Like they didn't even do any work on that. Yeah, she looks traumatized. And then the music hits.
So you think in the book she is basically saying yes, cannibalisms don't exist?
That's what I think. Yeah, but you could take it a lot of different ways, though.
But she saw people eat each other.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, but I think that she's doing it to either keep it a secret or to perpetuate like the idea that the cannibals don't exist, so people won't go look for them or whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Or I think the big thing, like she was saying earlier, like she was saying, like since they were coming to their sacred jungle land, and they have all these crazy white people down there trying to take their land. That's when the cannibal starts happening, is when you fuck with their territory. So maybe she says, maybe when he writes in the book saying like, yes, it doesn't exist, so please don't go down there.
Right, that's a better way of putting it than the way I did. Yeah, like just it's like don't go down and fuck with these people, and okay. None of this will happen. Yeah.
Well, there you have it, everybody.
I did want to
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I did want to mention too. This movie had a great soundtrack.
Yes.
All of these cannibal movies have great soundtracks. This one I think was particularly good. It was a Roberto Donati soundtrack. It's on Apple Music if you use that. Great music for this movie.
Yeah, great stuff, man. I liked it. I do like the soundtrack when I went to New York. It's like this like very upbeat movie after we saw some dicks getting chomped off.
Yeah,
very
Grindhouse Releasing, who owns the rights to this Blu-ray and releases the Blu-ray for this, released a soundtrack when it first came out. They released a limited edition version of the soundtrack on cocaine white vinyl.
Oh, nice.
Which I thought was hilarious.
That is hilarious. Our boy Mike would be proud.
He would.
He'd be like, yeah, buddy. But everybody, there you have it. Our first round of the course for y'all. Cannibal Ferox.
Yeah.
If y'all like that raw meat in your diet.
What did you think of this? Did you like this movie?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah. Some of the just the dialogue was just like cracking me up. You know what I mean?
Which we get a lot from these Italian movies, like these translated,
exactly.
dubbed Italian movies. Like we get that a lot. But yeah, it's. I thought this movie was good.
I actually thought, it was definitely entertaining. I mean, especially if you're looking for like the gore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought a lot of the killings was pretty, accurate of how they would kill you in those tribal shit.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of seeing the animals attack each other, but it is something that does happen in the jungle, which is like very accurate as well. So I get why they put it in the movie.
Yeah. But I mean, let's be real. I mean, if we're going to be real for a second, I mean, we all eat meat. I eat meat. You eat meat. So, I mean, if you're worried about animals dying, then you shouldn't be eating fucking meat at all.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's kind of hypocritical if you're like complaining about this one thing, but then you're going to go like, eat chicken wings.
It's just the law, like our Jackie Chan friend was saying on here. It's the law of the jungle.
It is the law of the jungle. Kill or be killed
out there,
or have your dick cut off.
But don't be fucking with the tribal people. We'll find out this whole month.
Yeah.
All right. Or else you're gonna be the Thanksgiving dinner.
Exactly.
So, Austin, what should we leave everybody with the music here today?
Let's leave them with the title track "Faith" by The Cure.
Let's do it, everybody. "Faith" by The Cure, because boy, when Ruby, Gloria go down there, they were having some faith that they would find the answer,
and they did. Yep.
So, but Allison, what should we be doing next week? Which one do you want to do?
Oh man, let's do Do another Umberto Lenzi movie. Let's do Eaten Alive.
Eaten Alive, brother.
Yeah, you're gonna love this one.
If
you like Cannibal Ferox, you're gonna love this.
Eaten
One
Alive.
cannibal movie was not enough for Umberto Lenzi. He had to make another.
I do like how all these titles of these movies sound like death metal bands.
Yes.
Like all of them. Alright? Like, that's just where it's like, where can I find my newest death metal? I mean, just find these movie titles. We're good to go. So
We're good to go.
But everybody, James Klein, J.S. Austin, we will see you here next week on The Retro Blood.
See you guys.